Hey guys, I'm Janet, on occasion, and today we're playing the Total War Warhammer II Battle Replay. And yeah, I know I've been a little bit, crap at doing these daily. That's the intention. But yeah, with the holidays, it's been so tough. So, doing things with family and all the rest of it. So what I should be saying really is Happy New Year, guys. Yeah. Anyway, so here's a replay. I've got one, so that's good. So I'm playing as Beastmen, and I'm against the Dark Elves. So yeah, I actually really like this matchup for the Beastmen. So it's going to be tough for the Dark Elves. But there's a few things I think he could have done differently with his build. So I want to talk about that. But so basically, I've gone with quite a wide line. So I've got Ungors and I've got a couple of Bestigors. So the Bestigors will match up well against most of the infantry. They'll hold their own and do quite a lot of damage on the charge against Hardgeth Executioners and Blackguard, but they are a bit cheaper. They will, eventually lose in a matchup like that. But hopefully I can go very wide with all this, and just use my numbers. So also I've got some Minotaurs. So the Minotaurs, great armor-piercing damage. Because everything can get in so quickly, and I've got such a wide line, I can wrap up ranged units nice and quickly. So the Minotaurs, shouldn't be at too much risk from being, focused down with range fire. So that'll really help me, because that is a weakness to Minotaurs. If you just sort of focus them down with ranged, you can kill them very quickly, because they stick out like a sore thumb, in a front line. But they will do great against Hardgeth Executioners, so that's great news for me. Also, I've got some Ungor Raiders. These guys just cheap as hell and really underrated in my opinion. They're great just for constantly applying focus fire to things, because that damage will add up. They don't do a lot of damage, but it will add up over time. So you have to deal with them, and that's something that they have to attack. So, that's tough, because chances are it's going to be sort of flying units and cavalry and things that are going to be dealing with them. But I've got such a wide line, I can completely envelop a Dark Elf army, unless he's gone with almost all bleak swords and dread spears. It's going to be tough. So these guys, a great little distraction, so absolutely love them. Got a Bray Shaman of Beasts, basically just so I can spam Flock of Doom, because I really like Flock of Doom for sort of things with heavy armor. So if you just spam it on things like Hardgeth Executioners, Blackguard, you'll whittle their health down quite a bit, and it really helps, your front line get the edge. And it's quite cheap just to bring it. And again, it's a distraction. It's something they have to deal with, because he's going to get more and more value the longer he's alive. So that's another nice distraction while my front line smashes into theirs. So also got Morga. Basically, he's just the most resilient lord. He's got regeneration, and he's very hard to hit. He can't really be focused down by range because he's quite a small target. He's got those Chaos Spawn summons, so he can just surround stuff with, just extra nonsense, and quite big nonsense. So, if he tries to snipe me with his Lord, eventually he's going to get surrounded by Chaos Spawn and won't be able to, get out the way, and then I can collapse on him with other stuff. So Morga, a lot of utility. What else have I got? Yes, over here, you can see I have a Razorgore Chariot. Thought I'd give that a go. Obviously got to watch out for Witch Elves and, other cavalry, but should be pretty fun for, running through their front lines. And also over here, you can see I have 2 units of Centaurs of Great Weapons, which are just always a great pick in my opinion. Rear charging into sort of Hardgeth Executioners, and even Blackguard. They'll do a lot of damage on the charge. And they're immune to Vigor Loss, like all Centaurs, so you can just keep running. If they're chasing you with a load of stuff, you just run away from it, kite things around. They're great fun. So, okay, so over here you can see Malekith has come in, trying to deal with my Ungor Raiders already, so that's great news. So if we have a quick look at his spells, you can see he's basically just got Soul Stealer, his Dragon Breath, and I think that, is that it? Hang on, let's have a look. Come on. I hate when this happens. Yeah, so Soul Stealer, he's got, Power of Darkness as well, so he can get some more Winds of Magic. But basically he's just going to be spamming Soul Stealer. He's got Gaze of Malice, which is obviously free. You can use that 4 times, which is quite nice. But honestly, I would have brought Chillwind in this fight, and I'll go over that a bit later. So also, you can see he's got some Harpies. Get a lot of utility out of Harpies. Harpies are a good unit to be able to deal with, things like the Ungor Raiders, I find. And also, they're alright just rear charging things, like Ungor. Against sort of low value units, they can just keep helping break stuff. So a lot of utility, I think, in this matchup. And again, you don't really have to worry too much in the air if you've got Malekith, because what can I bring? Just Harpies, right, in the air. I'm not going to bring anything better than that, so he doesn't have to worry. He'll be evenly matched, but he's got backup from Malekith, so he's fine, right? So, in the front line, see Hardgeth Executioners. These guys will match up well against literally everything, but they are very expensive. So very solid front line, though, and very long. Saying that, they won't match up well against the Minotaurs, which is why I brought them. But, it's a very sturdy front line. Also, you can see he's got 3 units of Dread Spears. These are a great pick, actually, having Dread Spears in the back. He's also chevroned them up a bit. But basically what these allow is, if I've got Centaurs trying to charge in the back, he's got some anti-large to deal with them. Right, but if I've got normal Centaurs or Centaurs with great weapons, yep, he can just make sure he's in the way. Right, receive the charge of the Spearman, do some damage. But if I've got Centaurs with throwing axes, then these guys have got good shields as well. They've got silver shields, so they can negate a load of that damage as well. So I think Dread Spears, very useful to have some of them in the back, and it helps you bring more units because they're relatively cheap compared to anything else in the roster. So pretty cool. Also, you can see Reaper Bolt Throwers. These guys, I just don't see them getting utility in a Beastman matchup. I mean, these guys, it's one of those things, they've got to be firing basically the whole battle to get good value. They just don't really perform particularly well. I find their best use is anti-artillery. So if you're going against Skaven, it can be really useful, because, you know, they're cheaper than a Warp Lightning Cannon and can destroy a Warp Lightning Cannon's, you know, artillery pieces very quickly, because, you know, they're accurate enough. So I think that's the only time they're really useful. So 2 of them, big expense. Very big expense. But yeah, at the moment they're focusing on my Bray Shaman, but my Bray Shaman is on foot, so he's hard to hit. He's not doing a lot of damage. So I just don't see this getting value. But he does have some Witch Elves as well. Witch Elves are a great pick, because basically things like Centaurs, with them constantly charging, they get benefit from every time they charge. They don't tire out, so you can have them running around the entire time. So you can constantly be charging and cycle charging and running around and skirting and whatever. But get Witch Elves on them, they'll be stuck in combat, and then you just get some spears on them and kill them all. So, hugely useful. I would have probably gone with 2 units of these and dropped the Bolt Throwers. Yeah, the Witch Elves, too useful. These guys, just, you don't get value against Beastmen. Just, they charge in too quickly. You just don't have time to shoot at anything. So anyway, let's speed things up, because the battle has started. So, you can see on the charge, should do pretty well. I'm getting my Razor Gore chariots into the side as well here. So, do a lot of damage to that side, which is nice. As you see, my Bestigors have taken a ton of damage already. But here, I'm trying to break the sides, is what I'm trying to do here. So I've got my Centaurs running in the back. They're going to have to run away before the Dread Spears come out. And now he's going to be chasing me with his Witch Elves. So what he should be doing is just moving his Witch Elves just along the line, making sure he's always screening me. But he shouldn't just chase, right? Because it means I can just go, okay, brilliant, I'll just run away. I'll just send him, you know, I'll just make him do a lap. So here, my Ungol Raiders are keeping constant pressure on Malekith, which is great. But my Bray Shaman is very far back. And he's going to be really easy to snipe out. So that's not great for me. So I've got some Ungors breaking, but they're Ungors. Here, fantastic breath attack on my Bestigors. Great target to go for with the breath attack, because he's just won this flank all of a sudden. And I was winning that very comfortably. So Soul Stealer coming down, which at the moment is basically just trying to negate the damage he's taken from the Ungor Raiders, which he's just sort of letting me use, which is a bit of a shame. But here you'll see he's going to snipe out the Bray Shaman easily, and the Bray Shaman, he keeps getting interrupted. Actually, the Bolt Throwers, they kept interrupting his spellcasting, because he kept getting knocked flat. So that did actually work a bit, but honestly, just to stop me from using a couple of Flocks of Doom before he gets killed by Malekith, I just don't think it's worthwhile. But, you know, he did stop me using Flock of Doom for a bit, so I guess that's something. So here I've got my Centaurs in the back line. Here he's finally realised the Witch Elves just need to get back into this fight, but a lot of his front line is broken. He's still got a load of spears, but I've still got a load of Ungor, you know, running around, so they're actually going to do really well. Here, one-on-one, Minotaurs versus Hargnet Executioners. I'd prefer if Minotaurs had some backup, so really these Ungors should be helping, taking some of the damage, but they're doing a ton of damage in return. I mean, look at this. So, pretty fantastic. I need to bring these guys back in, but I haven't yet. But I'm basically trying to make sure that this doesn't turn into a complete mess. Because, as you can see, the Witch Elves have managed to rampage some of these guys, but they are coming into the middle to try and save, you know, what's going on in here, pin everything down. So, here you can see Malekith has gone for the Minotaurs, which isn't a bad shout, because with the Hargnet Executioners, and just the amount of damage Malekith can do, he can hit the Minotaurs pretty damn hard. So that's what he's tried to do. So I'm sending Chaos Spawn on him to pin him in place. I'm sending my Centaurs on him to pin him in place. And now he's sort of vulnerable, right? I mean, yeah, there's some Hargnet Executioners, there's some Dread Spears, but that's a lot of mass I have chasing down Malekith. I'm still shooting at him. So over on this side, you can see my Centaurs. They've got caught out, right? This is why Witch Elves are so good. So now the Spearmen are just going to get a load of kills, while the Witch Elves make sure they can't go anywhere. And that's how you want to deal with Centaurs in this matchup. So here, Morga, he's still fighting stuff. Reaper Bolt Thrower crew, fine. You know, whatever I kill, it's going to help trigger army losses. But over here, Malekith is completely pinned. He's sending some other guys at me, but with the Centaurs are great weapons, and the fact there's still 37 of them, I've got enough to be able to get some good armor piercing on the executioners, because you can see their morale is not good. So these bestigals need to be doing something. Go on, go get Malekith. Good boys. So yeah, as you can see, you just envelop things, right? So I had a really wide front line. I had a lot of shot sort of units, you know, like the Centaurs and the Razor Gore chariots. I was just able to hit so many things so quickly, and the Minotaurs as well. And yeah, it just makes it very tough to protect things like the Reaper bolt throwers, and that is a big investment, you know. Also, Malekith, he didn't have Chillwind, and I think Chillwind would have helped so much in this matchup, because whenever you cast a spell, as you know, when you're a Dark Wizard, as long as you brought the ability anyway, you get that map-wide anti-armor, right? That armor-piercing buff. Map-wide, all your units get it for something like 14 seconds, I think, something like that. But either way, it's a good free buff. So if you have something like Chillwind, which is great against Beastmen, by the way, it is dirt cheap. It does some pretty good damage to low armor targets, such as Ungors, so you can wrap up all the cheap infantry very quickly. It has a slowing effect, which means you can slow down things like Centaurs, which allow your Witch Elves to catch up to them better. It's just got a lot of utility, but also, every time you use it, which is regularly, because it's dirt cheap, yeah, you're just going to get that map-wide armor-piercing buff, and bonus armor-piercing on Hargnet Executioners, like, because it's a bonus percentage, they already have such big armor-piercing values. It just gives them so much bonus damage. So if you've got a big wide line like this, use Chillwind to buff your units, and, you know, you will be able to get rid of all the chaff, which means these guys are no longer going to be outnumbered, and, yeah, if you've got your, you know, your Dragon Breaths, if you're using that well on, you know, things like the Bestigors, yeah, the front line is not going to hold up very well against, you know, all the Hargnet Executioners. They're just going to get whittled down so much, you know, by the just constant spells. So, Chillwind, I think, is huge. Also, it is so good for just, you know, hit some Ungor Raiders with it. It disrupts them, it means they can't shoot for a bit, because, you know, they've been knocked flat by this thing. And the damage adds up very quickly, and then it's not difficult to just sort of fly overhead and terrify them. So, you know, you can do some pretty good damage like that. But yeah, just for slowing things down like Centaurs, you know, allowing your cavalry to catch them and things like that. Obviously didn't have any cavalry, but, you know, it just gives you opportunities to be able to catch things. Because Beastmen, incredibly quick. So anything you can do to negate that is fantastic. But it also means that, you know, things like Bestigors and, well, actually Minotaurs don't have a huge amount of armor, do they? But anything armored, like the Bestigors, they're just going to take way more armor piercing. But, even with low armor, things like Ungors, that armor piercing is just guaranteed damage, right? So, although low armor things won't negate as much damage, you know, it's still good, right? It still means you can just get the maximum amount of damage on things. So yeah, just any bonus armor piercing damage is free damage at the end of the day. So I think it's really useful. So this build, I think the Reaper Bolt Thrower is the main problem. I think the fact that he was using all of his Winds of Magic on Soul Stealer when he could have just stayed out of the way of the arrows, you know, and he wouldn't have had to heal up like that. I think that would have been really useful. But that spell did do a fair amount of damage to the Minotaurs and, you know, to Morga. It did some pretty good damage, because it is good against smaller, you know, model count units. It's best against single models, to be honest. So if I brought a couple of Gorbals or something, that would have been great. He could have just kept spamming it on top of, you know, wherever I had them blobbed up, and he could have done some good damage and got a lot of healing in. But I just think Chillwind, honestly, would be MVP here, because he'd do so much damage to my cheap units, and he wouldn't have to worry about being overwhelmed, you know, being completely outnumbered, because that's inevitably what's going to happen against the Dark Elves, you know. Beastmen can bring very wide lines, so it's tough. Also, I think more Witch Elves, and just use the Witch Elves to screen things out. Don't try and charge, because, yeah, if the Beastman player is paying attention, he's just going to run away, right? So it's tough. So I think more Witch Elves and Chillwind, and honestly, that could have gone very differently. Because, yeah, he was able to snipe out my Brave Shaman and Malekith anyway, you know, and if the Brave Shaman had actually got in, yeah, just Chillwind, Gaze of Malice, sort of around the area, and you can still charge it with Malekith, and then just run him through your Hargnet Executioners. You don't have to run as far, you know, if you're sort of diving units that are in your front line. So you don't have to worry too much about Malekith getting singled out by, you know, Minotaurs and Centaurs and things. So I think that would really help. But yeah, I mean, this build though, I do like it. I do like it, but a couple of problems that I think, you know, would have really helped him against Beastmen. So hopefully, you know, hopefully he's realised that these are the problems, and hell, he might even be watching. Who knows? So herb your life. I'm assuming that's a drug thing, I guess, or seasoning. Maybe he's a cook. Who knows? So anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please do comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good day, guys.